SNK and Code Mystics have released another Neo Geo game in a standalone package. This time it's Real Bout Fatal Fury 2, The Newcomers. And for whatever reason, this is the first entry in their Neo Geo Premium Selection. I'm still not entirely sure what the extra title's supposed to add outside of the word premium, traditionally adding 20% to the price tag. But I assume it means more games will be released individually like Real Bout 2, SVC Chaos, and Garo Mark of the Wolves have been in the last few years. I wonder if that means those games will get the premium label retroactively, or if only games added from this point forward will count? Who knows. I'm just glad that something other than the King of Fighters can go past 1997 in a home release like this. There was a time where those ROM packs would only have games released between 94 and 95 to start, and then never sold well enough to go past that. And, without leading too much into conspiracy stuff here, I assume it's getting a standalone release to both celebrate the Neo Geo's 35th anniversary and to refresh the public's memory about Real Bout 2 existing. The latter reason probably being related to Fatal Fury, City of the Wolves. Now, after spending a couple of hours at Neo Geo Premium Collection, Real Bout Fatal Fury 2, The Newcomers, I can say that it's geared towards fans of Real Bout 2 who want a legal copy with a training mode attached. That's the target audience, and I think that's the group that'll get the most out of it, with some caveats. Outside of that group, there are slightly diminishing returns, mostly due to the $19.99 USD price tag. I actually want to talk about the price of entry at length, but the most important thing right now is to break the game down, so I'll save that for later, but you should listen to that part too. The Code Mystics release is similar to the other games I mentioned that they worked on. Same style of UI, similar graphics options, similar netcode, similar lobby system, and the same pseudo-ranking system, where they track people's wins and put them on a leaderboard. Seems like a lot of the collections from various developers that have come out have had some sort of leaderboard system where you can never rank down, only rank up. It's strange stuff, but I guess it works out because I keep doing it. As far as accuracy goes, I'm not great at measuring that stuff, especially since I don't have a real Neo Geo board to test the original game on, and I probably will never own one in my lifetime. However, I have a foolproof test to see how well the game handles input lag, and it's named Can a Middle-Aged Man Hit a Faint Cancel Without Macros? And the Steam port passes. So this port has local single player, local versus, and online lobbies. No ranked or casual matchmaking, just lobbies. That's just the style of the multiplayer for these one-off Neo Geo games at this point. The one-player option is the arcade mode that you'd find in home releases from previous generations, rather than the console mode or arcade mode from the original release, which I appreciate. Speaking personally, I've never liked the Neo Geo's 4-credit system on the console versions of its games. That's just how it is for me. There's no quick character select in local versus mode during a match, but there is the option to exit to the home menu during a match, and a rematch option after the match is over with the same characters on the same stage, which technically makes it faster than the international versions of the arcade release when it comes to rematches. But said rematch option is not available after online matches, which are technically slower than said arcade version, due to exiting to the ready screen before returning to character select. Now, having the option to use Alfred in online lobbies is great, and it should be a selling point for all the Alfred fanatics out there, but my attempts to play with or against Alfred with friends has led to some strange desyncing issues online. Alfred mirrors are okay, but any sort of non-Alfred versus Alfred play puts each player in a parallel dimension. Hopefully either the game sorts it out, or there's something I can do to fix that, or there's a patch coming down the line that'll handle that. The game's default graphical settings are a bordered 960 by 540 image with a flicker filter on. I only make note of this because the flicker filter is the same one that's present on the Battle Archives PS4 port, and unlike that port, this one lets you turn the filler off all the way, which I personally appreciate quite a bit. You can change the borders, remove the borders, or stretch the image, but you don't get a true 16 by 9 picture, which I have seen complaints about. I personally assume they don't have that option because applying a 16 by 9 ratio to a game that was built around a 4 by 3 border for 2 players is clearly much harder than a layperson would assume, considering how many games have recently tried to do so and ended up making a new, worse version of the game they were trying to enhance. The game's practice mode should be a big selling point. The standard ways to practice Real Bout 2 involved messing with LUA and something, using the pretty basic options in Battle Archives Volume 2, or just practicing stuff in real matches. The Code Mystics port has health caps, max meter, play speed options, dummy states, dummy recording, human control for the dummy, and even the option to select a move from the in-game move list to practice against. And I didn't bring it up before, but there's also a jukebox option in the game's regular menu, which is neat. You know, it's just nice to have. Plus, this practice mode also has viewable hitboxes, which is neat. And although I don't really see the immediate application, you can change the graphical settings in practice mode while you're practicing. There are no chains in the move list or reset button in this mode though. It was like that in the other ports too, but it is still annoying, especially in a game where some characters don't have back throws. There is, however, one thing that bugs me, and probably only me. The health and stun regen that's used here is pretty fast. Unlike some versions' training modes where the health falls and stun rises to a certain point during contact and then quickly recovers, in the Neo Geo Premium Collection version, health and stun are continuously recovering even as the dummy's getting hit. This effectively lengthens stun combos because the stun threshold is a lot harder to reach in this mode. Now, this might actually be a big plus for some people. Many people out there get annoyed when they're practicing something only for their punching bag to get stunned, forcing them to start over. But if you wanted to practice a stun combo in this version, which is perfectly fine because you never need to justify learning a stun combo, you can't really do it in practice mode. You have to use local verses. And while it's great that there's still an option, it would have been even better if practice mode let you practice everything. That said, it's still my second fastest option for practicing Real Bout 2 and probably my best one overall. And hopefully, again, this will be addressed in the future in some sort of patch or something. So when you take the multiplayer and single player options into account, the question remains, is this standalone release good enough to justify being standalone? For the most part, yes. I think this is a generally solid port with some good upsides and some weird downsides, and unlike a lot of the other versions, I'm assuming it can get patched to iron things out. Whether it actually will or not, I don't know. We'll see. Now, is it worth $19.99 USD? There's the rub. I've seen lots of people say the price is too high and that they'll get it on sale. And while obviously it's more likely that people will forget this release even exists before a sale kicks in, it's worth noting that unlike SVC Chaos, which only had one official release on modern consoles, or Garo, which technically has an earlier one from the 6th generation, and then a later one for more modern consoles that got patched after the fact to have rollback netcode, the Premium Selection version is actually one of 4 versions of Real Bout 2 that are available in the quote-unquote current generation of consoles in one way or another. There's a UI wrapped version of the ROM published by .emu that's pretty cheap, but it's locked to arcade mode, even though it uses a ROM that could easily be switched to console mode. Go figure. There's a port of Fatal Fury Battle Archives Volume 2 on the PS4, which is essentially the same as the US release of the original PS2 version, which gives you the last 3 games in the original Fatal Fury series, not counting Garo, and no online play, since that was dummied out for the US version. There's the Hamster ACA Neo Geo version of Real Bout 2, which is very accurate to the original arcade version and has no online, save for a ranking system of some kind for, I believe, Time Attack? Time Attack. And then there's this game we're talking about here, which seems to, at minimum, have a generally accurate version of Real Bout 2 running with online play and some form of rollback netcode and a couple of other options that may or may not be to your liking. If your stance is that paying $20 for a single game from 1998 is too much, or that paying any kind of money for a game like this is for suckers, this release isn't going to change your mind. If you think the price tag is too much for Alfred and training mode, this isn't going to change your mind. If you've got any other hangups about buying an SNK game, this isn't going to change your mind. And if you're really pissed off at the fact that this game seems to have region-locked language options, you're right to feel that way, and this game isn't going to change your mind. But for what it is, it's fine. I don't know if this sort of premium price tag will fly for, say, Savage Rain, but we'll see how this branding develops. Whenever SNK is in flux, they fall back on the classics for better or worse. Hopefully, they're open to feedback after the dust settles, and they'll take that into consideration going forward with this premium collection stuff. But we'll see.